Original.
And I'm in love with the money.
Welcome. Today we are talking about having that conversation with your spouse, the conversation about life insurance. And I know sometimes this can be a difficult conversation to have. Talking to our spouse about money can be a triggering conversation, but there are strategies, there are things you can do to make the conversation easier, to make both persons feel comfortable having that conversation. So I'm going to maybe give you some tips, and hopefully there will be one or two that would be able to help you make that conversation less awkward and less triggering. My first tip would be to start with the why. Why is this important? Why is this discussion important? You would say something that like, I want to make sure that if anything happens to either one of us or a family can keep going forward without financial struggle. Framing it in a positive way, framing it from a place of love, framing it from a place of protection, or as a strategic step that you need to take to achieve your family's financial goals and make sure that your family is taken care of. So frame it again from a place of love, protection, or as a strategic step to making sure that your financial future is secure. Avoid framing it from a place of fear or scarcity, because that then might trigger, make it conversation more difficult. Step two, or tip number two, make it more than about you. Make it about both of you, right? Because the thing is, anything can happen to either one of you. So you could say something like, if something happened to either one of us, I like to make sure we're both covered so that we'd be okay, right? So no one feels singled out or disadvantaged in the conversation. And it also opens them up, both parties, to think about how not having the coverage or having the coverage would impact them. So they can look at their own situation and how they'd feel without feeling pressured or singled out or it being one-sided. The other thing, again, if you could take the emotion out of it and look at it from a practical perspective, gently, then that would help as well. And one of the things that you could do is, and I'm sure most of us have examples in our lives that we could bring up that would demonstrate the benefits of having life insurance, how a situation with that kind of protection, whether it be life insurance, critical illness, or disability coverage, how it could play out for a family who has those safeguards in place versus how it would play out when none of those safeguards are in place. So look into your lives or around you for stories that you can use as examples so that you can avoid having a certain situation in your life and also gravitate to a situation that is desirable, right? Because the evidence, the proof is in the pudding, right? Seeing how these tools work for somebody else could be just the thing to help you make that decision. And I can tell you that there are a number of stories. You could just look around and see a number of stories that can prove the value of having these kind of income protection tools in place for yourself and your family, and also prove what the absence of them could look like, right? And you just search the internet, you can search, poll your friends, your family, and you will have some stories to tell. The next step, of course, or the next tip would be to get information, get informed, know about the options that are available to you, and having a conversation, including an insurance advisor, would be a good step. That way you can look at your options and also learn about the different features, the different benefits, and the different ways you can use life insurance, not only as for the death benefit payout, but also as a wealth planning tool for yourself and your family, that can also not only impact your today's and the near future or your lifetime, but also the lives of your kids and your grandkids. And again, it is a tool that you can definitely use as a safety net for your family. That's the most basic feature of having insurance coverage, but also it can be a tool to accelerate your wealth creation, create that legacy that you want for your family by providing tax sheltered growth and other living benefits. And I can talk from my perspective. I'll just share my story because I'm also married. I have a partner that I try to discuss financial matters with, and the conversation evolved over time. So with that, I'm going to say be patient, maybe take it a step at a time, provide information as you go without the pressure, without the blame, without the fear, right? And as your partner or the other persons or both persons learn about the options and how it serves and how it can be used to achieve certain goals, then the conversation gets easier. So talking about life insurance, talking about any money scenario is not a one-time conversation. This is something that you'd want to do on a regular basis, repeatedly as your lives change. So life insurance is something that you'd want to revisit to make sure that it is still serving you. You revisit the coverage amount, you revisit the type that you have, whether temporary or permanent, as your life changes. You revisit it with the changing of your goals and your family dynamic. So this is definitely something that you'll want to have a conversation about now and also in the future. So end goal, of course, is to give each person, give your family that gift of security, that peace of mind. And if you want to incorporate using it as a tool to also create a legacy and generational wealth, then that is also definitely a good way to use your insurance products to protect your family, to protect your lifestyle, and as income replacement, whether it be death, whether it be critical illness, whether it be disability, all these things need to be considered when you're thinking about preserving the financial well-being of your family. Again, when you're thinking about bringing up this conversation, I want you to approach it with confidence and using these tips, making sure that you're coming from a place of love and protection and wanting to preserve your family legacy. You're looking out for both partners and your family when you're discussing these situations, when you're information sharing and information gathering, and you're looking around you for evidence that supports your goals and objectives with bringing these insurance tools into your conversation. And you know what? Sometimes it's also good to talk to other people who have knowledgeable people. Let me add that little caveat there. People who have experience, who have knowledge with using the product, as well as talking to a financial advisor. As long as you're alive, it's not too late to have that conversation. There are options available for you in your circumstance. And if there aren't any options available, for example, you're severely ill, etc., think about the alternatives that you could put in place. Talk to your advisor to find out what your alternative options are, just to make sure that your family's future is taken care of and they're not left with a financial burden, but instead a financial blessing. So it's not too late to take care of your family's future. It's not too late to have that conversation. You might need a bit of patience when talking to a spouse about it because, yeah, money can be a triggering conversation. And you have to ensure that you're looking out for each other's best interest. Thank you so much for listening in. I'm happy to be of service to you. And if you do want somebody to help you with that conversation and you don't have an advisor, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for listening.